The viewing port stretched across the entire wall, offering a perfect view of Viridian Prime below. The planet glowed with soft blue light, its 3 moons casting shadows across the clouds. Ambassador Daniel Brooks stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back, watching the diplomatic vessels arrive from across the galaxy. "They're here," Captain Lisa Morgan said from behind him. She wore her dress uniform, the dark blue fabric crisp and clean. Her hand rested near her sidearm, a habit from too many years in combat zones. Daniel nodded but did not turn around. "How many ships?" 17 Krillian warships in orbit, another 30 from their allied species. They brought enough firepower to destroy a star system. Lisa walked to his side. "We brought 3 ships. We came to talk, not threaten." Daniel finally looked at her. His face showed no concern, only the calm patience that had made him one of Earth's best diplomats. "How are our people?" "Ready. The security team has mapped every exit, every route, every potential problem." Lisa's jaw tightened. "But if shooting starts in there, 3 ships won't be enough." "It won't come to that. You always say that. And I'm usually right." Daniel allowed himself a small smile. "Come on. Let's not keep the galaxy waiting." The Galactic Council chamber was built to impress. The ceiling rose 50 meters overhead, covered in displays showing every member world. Seats arranged in circular tiers faced a central platform where speakers would stand. Hundreds of aliens filled the chamber, representing dozens of species from across known space. Daniel and his team took their assigned seats in the lower tier. Across from them, the Krillian delegation sat in a block of raised seats. Their leader, Counselor Vex's Thor, stood nearly 3 meters tall. His scales shimmered with an oil-slick rainbow of colors. 4 arms crossed over his massive chest as he stared down at the humans. High Arbiter Zol Mara floated to the center platform. The mediator's species had no legs, just a long body that drifted through the air using methods human scientists still did not understand. Her voice echoed through translation devices built into every seat. "We gather to discuss the border conflicts between the human systems and the Krillian Empire. Both parties have agreed to seek peaceful resolution." Zol Mara's 3 eyes focused on Daniel. "Ambassador Brooks, you may speak first." Daniel stood and walked to the platform. He looked small compared to most aliens in the chamber, but he stood straight and spoke clearly. "Thank you, High Arbiter. Humanity comes here in good faith. The disputed territories in the Outer Rim contain 47 human colonies. These worlds have been settled for 20 years. We have built homes, raised children, created communities. We seek recognition of our territorial claims and a trade agreement that benefits both our peoples." He paused, looking around the chamber. "We also propose a mutual defense pact. The Outer Rim faces threats from raiders and unknown dangers. Together, humans and Krillians could ensure peace and safety for all civilized species in that region." Murmurs ran through the assembled aliens. Some species nodded approval. Others whispered among themselves. Vex Thor rose from his seat. He did not wait for the High Arbiter to call on him. His voice boomed across the chamber without need for translation devices. "The human speaks of 20 years as if it means something. My people have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We controlled these territories before your species discovered fire." He pointed one clawed finger at Daniel. "You are children playing at civilization. Your colonies exist because we allowed them to exist. That permission is now withdrawn." Daniel's expression did not change. "Counselor Vex Thor, we are not asking for permission. We are seeking mutual recognition between equals." The Krillian's laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. "Equals? Look around this chamber, human. Count the species here. 47 civilizations, each with histories spanning millennia. Then there are you. Barely 200 years since you left your dirtball planet. You have no history. No culture worth mentioning. No achievements that matter to the greater galaxy. We have built peaceful societies across 30 systems," Daniel said calmly. "We have contributed advances in medicine, agriculture, and engineering to the galactic community. We seek only to live in peace." Peace. Vex Thor descended from his seat, his massive form towering over the human. You want peace? Then here are our terms. You will abandon all 47 colonies within 6 months. You will surrender your military vessels to Krillian Command. You will accept status as a protected species under our guidance. In return, we will allow you to keep your home system and 3 nearby worlds. The chamber fell silent. Even species allied with the Krillians seemed shocked by the demands. Daniel shook his head slowly. Those terms are not acceptable. We are offering partnership, not subjugation. You misunderstand your position, Ambassador. Vex Thor leaned closer, his breath hot and smelling of sulfur. This is not a negotiation between equals. This is us informing you of reality. You are weak. Your technology is primitive. Your military is laughable. The only reason you still exist is because we have not yet decided to remove you. 5 or 1. You have not yet decided to remove you. Then why hold peace talks at all? Daniel asked. Because the Galactic Council requires us to offer terms before military action. Vex Thor straightened, addressing the chamber. Let all assembled species witness that we tried diplomacy. The humans refused reasonable terms. What happens next is on them. High Arbiter Zolmara floated forward. Counselor Vex Thor, these terms seem extreme. Perhaps a compromise could be reached. There is no compromise with children. The Krillian turned his back on Daniel, walking back to his delegation. You have 48 hours to accept our terms. After that, we will take what we want, and you will have nothing. Daniel looked to the High Arbiter. Will the Council intervene? Zolmara's eyes dimmed, a sign of sadness in her species. The Council cannot dictate internal matters between member species. If the Krillian Empire chooses military action, we cannot prevent it. Internal matters? Lisa Morgan stood suddenly. They just threatened genocide. Control your subordinate, Ambassador, Vex Thor called out. Or perhaps you cannot. Perhaps human discipline is as weak as everything else about you. Daniel placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder, gently pushing her back to her seat. He turned to face Vex Thor one more time. Counselor, you have made several assumptions today. You assume we are weak because we choose peace over war. You assume we are primitive because our civilization is young. You assume we will surrender because you threaten us. Daniel's voice remained calm. But something hard entered his eyes. You have made a terrible mistake. Vex Thor laughed again. The only mistake was wasting time on this charade. 48 hours. Human. Then you will learn what power truly means. Daniel gathered his documents and walked toward the exit. His team followed in tight formation. As they left the chamber, he heard aliens whispering. Some sounded sympathetic. Others seemed eager to watch humanity's fall. In the corridor outside, Lisa grabbed Daniel's arm. We need to call Earth. We need to mobilize the fleet. The fleet is already mobilized, Daniel said quietly. They have been for 3 weeks. Lisa stared at him. You knew this would happen. We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. Daniel looked back at the chamber doors. The Krillians think we are children playing at civilization. They are about to discover what happens when you threaten humanity's children. He pulled out his communicator and opened a secure channel. This is Ambassador Brooks. Peace talks have failed. Execute protocol cascade. The voice on the other end confirmed receipt. Daniel closed the channel and looked at his team. Get everyone back to the ship. We leave in 1 hour. Where are we going? Lisa asked. Home. We have a war to win and a galaxy to educate. Daniel walked toward their docking bay, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its session, unaware that everything was about to change. The 48-hour countdown had begun. But it was not humanity that needed to worry about time running out. The emergency broadcast reached Earth 18 hours after the peace talks collapsed. President Karen Mitchell sat in the Situation Room 300 meters below the surface, surrounded by screens showing military positions across human space. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and the lines around her eyes seemed deeper than usual. "How many civilian casualties if they hit the outer colonies first?" she asked. Admiral Charles Webb stood at the main display, his uniform showing 40 years of service medals. "New Haven has 6 million people. Timber Ridge has 4 million. Liberty Station, another 2 million. He pointed to each colony on the map. "If they strike hard and fast, we could lose 12 million in the first wave. And if we evacuate? We started 3 weeks ago, ma'am. Civilian transports have been moving families to inner systems since we sent Ambassador Brooks to the talks." Admiral Webb pulled up new data. "We have 70% of non-essential personnel already relocated." Karen closed her eyes briefly. 70% means 3 million still in danger. "Yes, ma'am." The door opened and Dr. Henry Cole entered, carrying a data tablet. The scientist looked tired, his clothes wrinkled from sleeping in his lab. "Madam President, Project Cascade is ready. Show me." Dr. Cole activated the central hologram. The display exploded with information. Ships, bases, supply routes, communication networks. Every piece of Krillian military infrastructure appeared in red dots across the galaxy. "We have been watching them for 5 years, Doctor," Cole explained. "Every ship, every weapon, every installation. We know their patrol routes, their response times, their command structure." He zoomed in on a cluster of bases. "We know their weaknesses." Commander Paul Grant entered the room, still wearing combat gear from a training exercise. "Special Operations has teams in position near 18 priority targets. We can go active on your order." Karen stood and walked to the display. She studied it for long minutes, her hand reaching out to touch the hologram, showing human colonies. "They think we are weak," she said quietly. "They think choosing peace means we cannot wage war." "They are wrong," Admiral Webb said. "Yes, they are." Karen turned to face her advisors. "Gentlemen, I need to be clear about what we are doing here. This is not about revenge. This is not about conquest. This is about teaching the galaxy a lesson that will last for generations." She pointed to the Krillian homeworlds. "We could glass these planets. Our weapons could turn their cities to ash within hours. We have the capability. But we won't," Dr. Cole said. "No, we won't." Karen's voice grew firm. "Because we are better than that. We will show the galaxy what human warfare looks like. Precise, controlled, devastating to military targets, and harmless to civilians. We will break their war machine and leave their people untouched." Admiral Webb smiled slightly. "That will scare them more than total destruction would." "Exactly. Any savage can destroy. It takes discipline to wage war with honor." Karen looked at each person in the room. "We offered peace. They chose war. Now we show them why that was their last mistake. But we do it our way." She activated the communication system. "Get me Ambassador Brooks." The screen flickered, and Daniel's face appeared. He sat in his ship's quarters, already halfway back to Earth. "Madam President, Ambassador, you gave them 48 hours. How much time is left?" 30 hours and counting. "Good. That gives us time to move the last civilians from the frontier." Karen leaned forward. "I watched your report. Vexthor was quite theatrical." "He believes his own propaganda," Daniel said. "He thinks our preference for peace means we are incapable of war. Then we educate him. What's your recommendation?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. "We have 2 options. We can defend our colonies and fight a long war of attrition. Or we can demonstrate immediately that we are not the species they think we are." "You favor the demonstration." "Yes. Shock and precision. Hit them everywhere at once. Make it clear that we had been prepared all along. That we knew this was coming, and that we have capabilities they never imagined." Karen nodded. "Admiral Webb, what's our fleet status?" 5th Fleet is already positioned near New Haven. 3rd Fleet is moving to support Timber Ridge. 9th Fleet is holding in the inner systems as reserve. Webb highlighted positions on the map, but that's defensive positioning. If we want to demonstrate power, we need to go offensive. Show them, Karen ordered. The display changed. Red dots marking Krillian positions were suddenly surrounded by blue dots representing human ships. We have been positioning stealth vessels near every major Krillian installation for 2 weeks, Webb explained. They don't know we are there. Our signals intelligence teams have infiltrated their communication networks. We can strike 234 military targets simultaneously. Commander Grant added his section. Special Operations has observation posts watching their command centers. We have agents who have been living on Krillian worlds for years, gathering intelligence, mapping installations, waiting for this exact scenario. Karen studied the display. So many targets, so much preparation. All of it hidden while they pursued peace. Were you certain peace would fail? She asked. No, ma'am, Admiral Webb said. But we learned long ago to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Earth's history taught us that lesson too many times. What about collateral damage? Dr. Cole stepped forward. Every target has been analyzed. Our weapons will destroy military assets with minimal civilian impact. The Krillians build their bases away from population centers. We will use that against them. And their allies? We have detailed files on every species that supports them, Commander Grant said. But we recommend focusing on Krillian forces only. Let their allies see what happens when you threaten humanity. Let them make their own choice about whether to continue supporting the Krillians. Karen walked back to her chair and sat down. She looked at her hands, thinking about the millions of lives in the balance. Human lives, alien lives. All of them affected by what she decided next. My grandfather fought in Earth's last World War, she said softly. He told me something I never forgot. He said the worst wars are fought when good people do nothing. When they choose peace at any cost. When they let bullies take what they want because standing up seems too hard. She looked up at the assembled officers. We tried peace. We offered fair terms. We came to them with open hands. They responded with threats and insults. They gave us 48 hours to surrender or die. Karen stood again, her decision made. We will not surrender. We will not hide. We will show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. She pointed to Admiral Webb. Activate the fleet. I want every ship in position before the deadline expires. Yes, ma'am. Commander Grant, your teams go active. Start gathering real-time intelligence on troop movements and command decisions. Understood, ma'am. Dr. Cole, prepare the data release. When we strike, I want every species in the galaxy to see proof of Krillian crimes. Let them know exactly who they have been supporting. Already compiled, ma'am. 5,000 years of Krillian expansion, conquest, and atrocities. Karen nodded. Good. And get me a communication channel to all human colonies. I want to speak to our people. 10 minutes later, Karen's face appeared on screens across human space. In homes and shelters, in ships and stations, millions of humans stopped to listen. My fellow humans, she began. By now you have heard that peace talks have failed. The Krillian Empire has demanded our complete surrender. They believe we will submit because we are young. They believe we are weak because we prefer peace. She paused, letting her words sink in. They are wrong. We choose peace because it is right, not because we cannot wage war. We build rather than destroy, because creation takes greater strength than destruction. We offer friendship before force because we believe in the possibility of better futures. But we are not naive. While we talked peace, we prepared for war. While we offered fair terms, we studied our enemies. While we hoped for the best, we planned for the worst. That is what wisdom looks like. That is what real strength means. Karen's voice grew harder. The Krillians gave us 48 hours to surrender. Let me be clear. We will not surrender today. We will not surrender tomorrow. We will not surrender ever. Instead, in 30 hours, we will show them what human warfare looks like. We will strike with precision. We will fight with honor. We will protect the innocent while crushing those who threaten us. And when this is over, the galaxy will understand that humanity offers peace first, but we are always ready for war. Stay strong. Trust in our military. Trust in each other. We will get through this together, and we will emerge stronger than before. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people returned to their preparations. Some were afraid. Others were angry. But all of them trusted that their leaders had a plan. In the Situation Room, Karen looked at her team. 30 hours. Make them count. When the deadline expires, I want the first thing the Krillians see to be something they never imagined. What's that, ma'am? Commander Grant asked. Karen smiled, cold and determined. Human ingenuity, human precision, and human resolve. All delivered simultaneously to 234 targets. They wanted to see our military capability. Let's show them exactly what they asked for. Admiral Webb began issuing orders. Ships moved into position. Teams activated their equipment. Scientists ran final checks on weapon systems. All across human space, the machinery of war hummed to life, but it was war fought the human way. Controlled. Precise. Devastating to enemies and protective of innocents. The Krillians had assumed humanity would either surrender or fight like savages. They were about to discover they had underestimated both human capability and human character, and that mistake would change the galaxy forever. The Krillian war fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule. 300 warships materialized near New Haven. Their weapons already charging. On the flagship, Admiral Kreshtar watched the human colony grow larger on his screens. Any response from the humans? He asked. Negative, Admiral. The planet appears defenseless. Only 2 orbital stations, both civilian. His tactical officer studied the readings. No military presence detected. Kreshtar's scales rippled with satisfaction. They ran. Just as Counselor Vexthor predicted. Cowards to the end. Should we pursue their fleeing ships? No. Destroy the infrastructure first. Let the survivors spread word of what happens when you defy the Krillian Empire. Kreshtar pointed at the planet. Begin bombardment. The fleet moved into firing position. Weapons locked onto orbital stations, spaceports, and industrial centers. Kreshtar opened his mouth to give the final order. Every screen went dark. What is happening? Kreshtar roared. Unknown, Admiral. All systems are experiencing interference. Communications are down. Sensors are down. Weapons targeting is compromised. Switch to backup systems. Backup systems are also affected. We are receiving a transmission on emergency channels. Put it through. Admiral Charles Webb's face appeared on the screen. The human sat calmly in his command chair, hands folded in his lap. Admiral Kreshtar, you are in violation of human territorial space. You have exactly 1 minute to withdraw your fleet, or we will remove it for you. Kreshtar laughed. You have no ships here, human. Your sensors must be malfunctioning more than ours. Withdraw or be destroyed. We gave you our terms. Your minute starts now. Webb's screen went dark. Kreshtar turned to his weapons officer. Override all safeties. Fire everything at that planet. The weapons officer tried. His claws danced across controls. Systems are not responding, Admiral. Something is blocking our firing commands. That's impossible. Our technology is superior to anything the humans possess. Contact from Hyperspace Point 3, Tactical reported. Multiple vessels emerging. The first wave of human ships came through, weapons already active. Not the massive dreadnoughts the Krillians expected. Small, fast attack craft that moved like predators through space. Captain Ryan Foster led the first squadron. His fighter was one of 50 identical ships that swept toward the Krillian fleet. All wings. Execute pattern Delta. Target their sensor arrays first. The human fighters moved in perfect coordination. Precision strikes hit communication dishes, targeting systems, and power relays. The Krillian ships could not return fire. Their weapons still refused to activate. What did they do to our systems? Kreshtar demanded. His technical officer finally found the answer. They uploaded a virus during their diplomatic visit 3 weeks ago. It has been dormant in our network, waiting. Now, it is blocking all offensive systems. Impossible. We scanned everything the humans brought. They did not bring it, Admiral. Our own network maintenance crews installed it. The virus masqueraded as a standard update from Central Command. Kreshtar stared at the screen showing human fighters swarming his fleet. They planned this. All of it. The peace talks were a distraction. No, Admiral, a new voice said. Lieutenant Amy Chen's face appeared on a side screen. She sat at a tactical station aboard a human destroyer. We hoped for peace. You chose war. We were simply prepared for both outcomes. Who are you? Lieutenant Amy Chen. Earth Defense Force. I have been monitoring your fleet movements for 2 weeks. Every patrol route. Every schedule change. Every communication. We know everything about your operations. She smiled. For example, I know your flagship's backup power systems will fail in approximately 30 seconds. I know your life support will follow 90 seconds after that. I know you have 16 escape pods, but only 12 are currently functional. You are lying. Am I? Amy's fingers moved across her controls. Watch. The flagship's lights flickered. Emergency systems activated. Alarms blared throughout the ship. All ships, scatter formation, Kreshtar ordered. Get away from the human vessels. Regroup at Point 7, but the Krillian fleet could not coordinate. Their communications were jammed. Their sensors showed false readings. Ships collided trying to avoid human fighters that were not actually there. Across the battle space, human forces executed their plan with mechanical precision. Admiral Webb coordinated from his command ship, watching feeds from 100 different sources. Captain Foster, status on the flagship, power systems failing, life support critical. They will need to abandon ship within 10 minutes. Do not destroy it. Disable engines and let it drift. I want survivors to tell what happened here. Yes, sir. Webb switched channels. All ships. Execute Cascade Protocol. Targets across Krillian space should be receiving their wake-up calls right now. At that exact moment, 234 Krillian military installations experienced simultaneous attacks. Human stealth ships that had been hiding for weeks suddenly revealed themselves. Special operations teams emerged from years of deep cover. Sabotage programs activated in networks throughout the Krillian Empire. Commander Paul Grant led the ground assault on Krillia Prime's military command center. His team of 12 moved through the facility like ghosts, having memorized every corridor during months of surveillance. Third floor, West Wing, Grant whispered. That is where they coordinate fleet operations. His team reached the operations center without firing a shot. Guards were present, but human technology had already convinced the automated defenses that nothing was wrong. Grant placed a small device on the main computer core. Uploading now. This will give us access to every military order issued in the past decade. Contact, one of his soldiers reported. Security team approaching. How many? 20, armed with standard rifles. Grant checked his display. We can avoid them, if we move now. Go. The team withdrew the same way they came in. Behind them, the device finished uploading, and then erased all evidence of its presence. The Krillian guards searched the operations center and found nothing. But on Earth, Dr. Henry Cole received a data stream containing every secret the Krillian military had kept for 10,000 years. President Mitchell, you need to see this, he said. Karen looked at the information scrolling across her screens. Proof of massacres. Records of conquered species. Plans to subjugate even their current allies. Evidence of crimes that would shock the entire galaxy. Prepare this for release, she ordered. I want every species in the galaxy to see what the Krillians really are. Already compiled, ma'am. Sending it to every news network, every government, every public forum. By morning, the whole galaxy will know the truth. Back at New Haven, the Krillian fleet was in chaos. Admiral Kreshtar watched helplessly as his ships lost power, one by one. Human fighters circled them like sharks, not destroying but demonstrating complete dominance. Admiral Webb opened a channel to the Krillian flagship. Admiral Kreshtar, this is your final warning. Order your fleet to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that resists will be disabled. We will not kill you unless you force us to. You have won nothing, human. This is one battle. The Empire will send more fleets. Bigger fleets. Will they? Webb pulled up a holographic display showing Krillian space. Red indicators marked every military installation. Every single one showed disabled status. Your Empire no longer has fleets to send. 234 military bases, all offline, all under human control or surveillance. We did not destroy them. We simply turned them off. Kreshtar's scales lost their color. 234? That is every major installation we have. Yes, we told you we were prepared. Did you think we only prepared to defend New Haven? Another officer ran to Kreshtar's side. Admiral, we are receiving reports from across the Empire. Every fleet, every base, every weapon system has been compromised. The humans must have been planning this for years. 5 years, Webb confirmed. We have been watching you since the first border incident, learning your systems, mapping your networks, placing our people in positions to act when needed. We hoped we would never need to use this knowledge. You made that hope impossible. He leaned forward. Now you will power down your weapons. You will allow your crews to be evacuated to safety, and you will watch as we demonstrate exactly what human warfare looks like. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to educate you. Kreshtar looked around his disabled bridge. His fleet drifted helpless in space. His Empire's defenses had been turned off like children's toys. Everything he had believed about human weakness was clearly wrong. We surrender, he said quietly. Good. Your crews will be treated well. They will be fed, given medical care, and returned home safely once this is over. Webb's expression grew colder, because unlike your Empire, we do not massacre defeated enemies. We are better than that. The Krillian crews abandoned their ships. Human rescue vessels collected them carefully, providing food and medicine. The prisoners stared in confusion. They had expected death or torture. Instead, they received kindness. On the Galactic Council station, High Arbiter Zolmara watched news reports with her 3 eyes wide. Every screen showed the same story. Human forces had struck everywhere at once. Krillian military power had been eliminated in a single coordinated attack. But what shocked her more was the data release. Proof of Krillian atrocities spread across every communication channel. Worlds that had been told they were uplifted showed records proving they were conquered. Allies discovered plans for their eventual subjugation. The Krillian Empire's reputation crumbled as fast as its military had. Counselor Vexthor appeared on a priority channel, his scales gray with shock. This cannot be. We are the superior civilization. We have 10,000 years of history. How could humans do this? Because you underestimated them, Zolmara said. You thought they were weak because they chose peace. You never considered that choosing peace might require greater strength than choosing war. She watched another report showing human forces carefully avoiding civilian casualties while destroying military targets with surgical precision. They are not fighting like savages, she continued. They are fighting like something we have not seen in this galaxy for millennia. They are fighting with both power and principle. Across the galaxy, other species watched the same reports. Some were frightened of human capability. Others were impressed by human restraint. All of them realized they had severely misjudged the newest species in galactic space, and in the Krillian capital, subject species saw their opportunity. If the mighty Empire could fall so quickly, perhaps freedom was possible after all. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had shown its teeth, but they had done it while maintaining their values. That combination terrified some and inspired others. The war was not over, but it had already been decided. Now came the harder part, building something better from the ashes of the old order. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 12 hours after humanity's coordinated strike. Representatives from 47 species filled the chamber, many still processing what they had witnessed. High Arbiter Zolmara floated to the center platform, her normally calm demeanor showing visible strain. Order. We must have order. she called out. But the chamber continued buzzing with heated conversations. A species known as the Vorath stood abruptly. Their ambassador was an elderly being, her skin marked with ceremonial scars from a dozen conflicts. "We demand an explanation. The humans just demonstrated military capabilities beyond anything in recorded history. How did we not know they possessed such power? Because they hid it from us," another representative shouted. "They came here pretending to seek peace while preparing for total war." The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Daniel Brooks entered, flanked by Captain Lisa Morgan and 2 security officers. The room fell silent as he walked to the speaker's platform. "Ambassador Brooks," Zolmara said carefully, "you were not summoned to this session. And yet, here I am." Daniel looked around the chamber. "I hear you have questions. I am here to provide answers." Counselor Vex Thor stood in his section, though his scales had lost much of their former luster. "You lied to us. You came here claiming to seek peace, while your military prepared to attack." "We sought peace," Daniel replied calmly. "We truly did. But we are not fools. We studied your history, Counselor. We know what happens to species that enter negotiations from a position of weakness. They get devoured." He activated a holographic display, showing historical records. The Vorath. 1,200 years ago. You tried to negotiate fairly with the Krillians. You offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, mutual defense pacts. The Krillians responded by conquering 14 of your colonies and selling your people as labor. The Vorath ambassador's scars seemed to deepen. She remembered. Daniel changed the display. The Matharian Collective. 900 years ago. Same pattern. Peace talks, reasonable offers, brutal conquest. 3 billion Matharians killed when they refused to surrender. More images flashed across the screen, species after species, all with the same story. Tried peace with the Krillians. Faced destruction instead. We learned from your mistakes. Daniel continued. We came to the table hoping for peace but ready for war. That is not deception. That is wisdom. A smaller species called the Quinn spoke up. Their ambassador was barely a meter tall but had a voice that carried. You disabled 234 military installations simultaneously. That level of coordination requires years of planning. You were spying on the Krillians the entire time. Yes. We were watching everyone. Daniel did not apologize. When we entered galactic space, we were the newcomers, the unknowns. We had to learn quickly who we could trust and who would try to harm us. So we watched. We listened. We learned. He pulled up more data. We know the Quinn have been developing weapons in violation of galactic treaties. We know the Vorath have secret mining operations in protected zones. We know at least 15 species here have been supporting Krillian expansion in exchange for favorable trade terms. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Daniel waited for the noise to die down. But we did nothing with that information, he said quietly. We stored it. We analyzed it. And we kept it secret because knowledge is not the same as action. We chose to trust that most species would act honorably, if given the chance. Elder Quinara spoke for the first time. The ancient being sat in a section reserved for observer species, those who had seen civilizations rise and fall for millennia. Her voice was soft, but everyone listened. You fight like the ancients did, she said. Precision without cruelty. Power tempered by principle. I had not seen such warfare in 5,000 years. The ancients? Daniel asked. A civilization that existed before most current species achieved spaceflight. They possessed technology that could reshape planets, weapons that could destroy stars, but they used those capabilities only when all other options were exhausted. They believed in peace but were always ready for war. Quinara's eyes studied Daniel carefully. What happened to your species, Ambassador? What made you this way? Daniel was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of human history. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Multiple times. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could have ended all life on our planet. We came very close to extinction through our own stupidity and violence. He looked around the chamber. But we learned. We studied our mistakes. We created systems to prevent the worst of our nature from controlling our future. And when we reached the stars, we swore we would not export our violent past. We would offer peace first. Always. Yet you prepared for war, Vexthor said. Because peace only works when both sides choose it, Daniel replied. You cannot negotiate with someone who sees negotiation as weakness. You cannot trust someone who interprets mercy as cowardice. We tried peace with you. Counselor, you responded with threats and ultimatums. He activated another display. This one showed the data Dr. Henry Cole had compiled. 5,000 years of Krillian expansion. Conquered worlds. Enslaved populations. Massacres of species that resisted. You called us children. You said we had no history worth mentioning. But our brief history taught us lessons it took you 10,000 years to ignore. We learned that power without restraint leads to tyranny, that conquest without purpose leads to collapse, that treating others as inferior guarantees eventual rebellion. The Krillian section sat in silence. The evidence on display was undeniable. Captain Lisa Morgan stepped forward. She had not spoken until now, but her presence had been noted by everyone in the chamber. The Council needs to understand something, she said. When the Krillians gave us 48 hours to surrender, my people wanted immediate retaliation. Our military had the capability to glass every Krillian world within a day, turn their cities to radioactive dust. End the threat permanently. She paused, letting that sink in. President Mitchell said no. Admiral Webb said no. Ambassador Brooks said no. They chose surgical strikes against military targets only. 0 civilian casualties. Not because we could not kill civilians, but because we chose not to. Why? The Quinn ambassador asked. After such provocation, why show restraint? Because winning a battle through massacre is easy, Lisa replied. Any species with enough firepower can destroy their enemies. But building a lasting peace requires something harder. It requires showing you are strong enough to win but wise enough to show mercy. Daniel nodded. We did not want to conquer the Krillian Empire. We wanted to demonstrate that threatening humanity has consequences. We wanted every species in this galaxy to understand that while we prefer peace, we are fully capable of defending ourselves. He looked directly at Zolmara. The Council sat by and watched as the Krillians threatened genocide against humanity. You said you could not interfere in internal matters between member species. Well, we have now made our position clear. We will protect ourselves, and we will do it in a way that demonstrates both capability and character. Zolmara's eyes dimmed with sadness. You shame us, Ambassador Brooks. You are correct. We should have intervened. We chose comfort over justice. Then let this be a turning point, Daniel said. Humanity does not seek to dominate this council. We seek partnership among equals. Real equals, not the pretend equality where some species are more equal than others. A representative from the Matherian collective stood. What are your demands? You have defeated the Krillian military. You could dictate terms to half the galaxy. What do you want? Daniel smiled. We want what we asked for in the beginning. Recognition of our territorial claims. Fair trade agreements. Mutual defense pacts with species who choose to partner with us. And reform of this council so that it actually prevents atrocities instead of watching them happen. That is all? Vexthor sounded skeptical. Yes. We did not go to war for conquest or revenge. We went to war to secure our safety and to demonstrate our resolve. Those goals are achieved. What about reparations? The Vorath ambassador asked. The Krillians owe debts to dozens of species for past crimes. That is for the Council to decide, Daniel said. We will support any reasonable measures to address historical injustices. But humanity will not dictate galactic policy. We will participate in it as equal members. Elder Quinara stood slowly, her ancient body moving with difficulty. I have watched civilizations rise and fall for longer than most species have existed. I have seen empires built on conquest crumble. I have seen peaceful societies destroyed by more aggressive neighbors. Rarely have I seen what you have demonstrated here. She gestured at the data still displayed across the chamber. You had the power to destroy your enemies completely. You chose precision instead. You had justification for revenge. You chose restraint. You had opportunity for conquest. You chose partnership. What does that mean for the galaxy? Someone asked. It means everything has changed, Quinara said. For 10,000 years, the Krillians have enforced a certain order. Power through conquest, expansion through force, compliance through fear. Humanity has shown an alternative. Power through capability. Security through preparation. Respect through principle. She looked at Daniel. Other species will follow your example, some because they admire it, others because they fear falling behind. Either way, you have shifted the foundation of galactic civilization. Zolmara called for a vote. The Council must decide. Do we recognize humanity's territorial claims and accept them as full members with equal standing? The vote was not unanimous, but it was overwhelming. 42 species voted in favor. Only 3 voted against. All of them Krillian allies, who still clung to the old order. It is decided, Zolmara announced. Humanity is recognized as a sovereign civilization with full council rights and protections. Daniel bowed slightly. Thank you. We will work to prove worthy of that trust. As the session ended and representatives began to leave, many approached Daniel privately. Some offered trade agreements. Others proposed military alliances. A few asked quietly if humanity would consider helping them resolve their own conflicts with aggressive neighbors. Lisa leaned close to Daniel. They are afraid of us. Yes, but they also respect us. That combination will serve us well. Daniel watched the Krillian delegation file out, Vex's Thor walking with the bearing of someone who had lost everything. The hard part comes next. What hard part? We won. We won the war. Now we have to win the peace. That will require something much more difficult than military victory. Lisa understood. Forgiveness, and reconstruction, and partnership with former enemies, and showing the galaxy that our principles survive even after our guns fall silent. Daniel collected his documents. The shooting part was easy. Now comes the real test of what humanity can be. The galaxy watched and waited to see if humans were truly as exceptional as they claimed. The answer would shape civilizations for generations to come. 6 months had passed since the war ended. Admiral Charles Webb stood on the observation deck of the human command station orbiting what used to be called Krillia Prime. Below him, the planet showed signs of massive reconstruction. Entire cities were being rebuilt with human assistance. The shipment of medical supplies arrived yesterday, his aide reported. 20,000 tons of antibiotics, surgical equipment, and diagnostic tools. All donated by human colonies. Webb nodded. What about the agricultural processors? Installation begins next week. Dr. Cole's team says they can increase food production by 40% within 6 months. Good. What is the status of the Krillian military prisoners? The last group returns home today. All 18,000. Fed, healthy, and educated about the new peace accords. Webb watched a transport ship descend toward the planet's surface. It carried former Krillian soldiers who had spent 6 months in human custody. They had expected prison camps and harsh treatment. Instead, they received meals, medical care, and classes about galactic history they had never been taught. President Karen Mitchell appeared on a communication screen. Admiral, how are things progressing? Better than expected, ma'am. The Krillian civilian government has been cooperative. They understand their military led them into disaster. The Krillian civilian government. They were seized Kola, a work sported, then their militaria, and Vex Thor, still in custody. The War Crimes Tribunal begins next month. But we have had interesting conversations with him. Karen raised an eyebrow. Oh? He asked to speak with Ambassador Brooks. They met 3 times last week. Brooks thinks Vex Thor is genuinely trying to understand what happened. Can he be trusted? Webb considered the question. I think he was a true believer in Krillian superiority. Watching that belief crumble has been devastating for him. But he is learning. Whether that learning comes too late remains to be seen. The scene shifted to a classroom on the planet below. Krillian children sat at desks, listening to a human teacher explain mathematics. The teacher was a volunteer from Earth, one of thousands who had come to help rebuild. The Pythagorean theorem works the same way everywhere in the universe, the teacher said, writing on a digital board. It does not matter what species discovered it. Truth is truth. A young Krillian raised one of her forearms. Teacher Kate, is it true that humans and Krillians were at war? Kate paused. She had been asked this question before. Yes, it is true. Then why are you here helping us? Because the war is over. Your parents and grandparents made mistakes. Our leaders tried to prevent those mistakes. When that failed, our military did what was necessary to protect humanity. But you were not responsible for any of that. You are children. You deserve a chance to grow up in a better galaxy than the one we inherited. Another child asked, will you teach us to be like humans? No. I will teach you to be the best version of yourselves. You can learn from human values, but you must develop your own identity. The galaxy needs Krillians who think for themselves, not Krillians who copy someone else. Far across the galaxy, on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Daniel Brooks sat across from representatives of the newly formed Galactic Commonwealth. 30 species had joined the new organization, committed to principles of equality, mutual defense, and peaceful conflict resolution. The Vorath have submitted their first proposal, one representative said. They want to establish a joint research station to study ancient technologies. Any objections? Daniel asked. The Quinn are concerned about military applications. Reasonable concern. Propose that all research findings be shared openly with all Commonwealth members. No species gets exclusive access to discoveries. The Vorath may resist that. Then they need to decide what they value more, hoarding knowledge or building trust. Daniel made notes on his data pad. What else? The discussion continued for hours, covering trade disputes, territorial questions, and requests for assistance from newly independent former Krillian colonies. Every decision required balancing competing interests and finding solutions that served the greater good. It was exhausting work, much harder than warfare had been. In a private medical facility on Mars, Dr. Henry Cole worked with a team of mixed-species scientists. They were developing new treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. A Krillian researcher worked alongside human doctors, sharing knowledge that had been restricted during the old empire. This enzyme structure is fascinating, the Krillian scientist said. My people knew it existed but were forbidden from researching it. The Empire said it was too dangerous. Dangerous how? Dr. Cole asked. It could be used to cure diseases. If we cured diseases, we could not control populations through medical scarcity. The Empire preferred keeping subject species dependent on them for medicine. Dr. Cole felt anger rise but pushed it down. Well, you are free to research it now. Let us see what we can cure together. The Krillian scales shifted color, a sign of emotion. Why do you not hate us? My people tried to destroy yours. Your leaders tried to destroy us. You were a scientist who followed orders, probably because you had no choice. Dr. Cole looked at his colleague. I judge people by what they do when they have freedom to choose. You chose to come here and help cure diseases. That tells me who you really are. Back on Earth, Commander Paul Grant met with his special operations team. Many of them had spent years undercover in enemy territory, watching and waiting for orders that almost came too late. New assignment, Grant said. The former Krillian colony of Viridian 7 has requested assistance. Local warlords are trying to fill the power vacuum. They want human advisors to help train a planetary defense force. Are we playing police for the whole galaxy now? One soldier asked. No. We are helping species learn to defend themselves. Big difference. Grant pulled up mission parameters. We train their people, give them the tools they need, and then we leave. We are not occupiers. What if they use that training against us later? Then we deal with it when it happens. But most species just want security and the chance to build something. If we give them that, they will remember who helped them when they needed it most. The team deployed 3 weeks later. They found a population desperate for stability and eager to learn. Within months, Viridian 7 had a functioning defense force that operated on principles of restraint and civilian protection. Human principles, taught and then left to take root. On Krylia Prime, Counselor Vex Thor sat in a comfortable room that served as his detention facility. He had access to books, news feeds, and communication with the outside world. It was nothing like the prison camps his empire had operated. Ambassador Brooks entered and sat across from him. They had met many times over the past months. These two beings who had faced each other across the negotiating table before everything fell apart. "I have been reading human history," Vex Thor said without preamble. "Your species fought wars that killed more of your own kind than any alien ever could. You developed weapons that could destroy your entire planet. You nearly made yourselves extinct several times. Yes, we did all of that. Yet here you are, preaching peace and restraint. How do you reconcile your violent past with your current principles?" Brooks considered the question. "We do not hide from our history. We study it. We teach it. We remember what happens when power lacks wisdom, when fear drives decisions, when differences become reasons for hatred." He leaned forward. "Do you know what separates species that survive from species that destroy themselves? The ability to learn from mistakes. Not just avoiding the same error twice, but understanding why the error happened and building systems to prevent it." You make it sound simple. It is not simple at all. It requires constant effort. Every generation must choose to be better than the one before. Every leader must resist the temptation to use power without restraint. Every citizen must remain vigilant against the worst aspects of their nature. Vex Thor's scales showed deep blue, a sign of sadness in his species. "My people believed we had evolved beyond such concerns. We were the superior civilization, the advanced culture. We thought our age and accomplishments made us wise. Age does not guarantee wisdom. Neither does technology. What matters is whether you use your capabilities to build or destroy, to include or exclude, to lift others up or push them down. We chose wrong, yes. But that choice does not define your entire species forever. What you do next matters more than what you did before." Vex Thor looked out the window at the reconstruction below. "Will there truly be a place for Krillians in this new galaxy, after everything we have done? That depends on what Krillians choose to become. If you cling to old ideas of superiority and conquest, no. If you embrace the possibility of equality and cooperation, yes. What if we are not capable of change? What if our nature makes us conquerors?" Brooks smiled slightly. "Humans once believed the same thing about ourselves. We thought warfare was our inevitable destiny. We thought different groups could never truly coexist. We were wrong. Nature gives us tendencies, but choice determines our character." 3 months later, Vex Thor addressed the Krillian people from a tribunal hearing. His trial had revealed the full scope of Empire crimes across millennia. He faced punishment for his role in attempting genocide against humanity. "I am guilty," he said simply. "I believed in Krillian superiority. I advocated for the destruction of humans because I could not imagine sharing this galaxy with equals. I was wrong." The chamber was silent as he continued. "But my guilt is shared by our entire civilization. We built an empire on conquest and called it destiny. We subjugated other species and called it uplift. We committed atrocities and called it necessary. The humans showed us another way. Not through lectures or preaching, but through demonstration. They defeated our military in hours. They could have destroyed our worlds. They chose reconstruction instead." Vex Thor's voice grew stronger. "I do not ask for mercy. I ask that my people learn from this failure. The galaxy has changed. The old order is dead. We can resist that change and fade into irrelevance, or we can embrace it and build something better." The tribunal sentenced him to 20 years' service overseeing reconstruction efforts in systems his policies had harmed. It was not the death sentence many expected. President Karen Mitchell watched the sentencing from Earth. Around her, advisors discussed the implications. "Some people think we were too lenient," one said. "Some people will always think that," Karen replied. "But Vex Thor will spend 20 years working to repair the damage he helped cause. He will see the faces of people his empire harmed. He will work alongside the very humans he tried to exterminate. If he learns nothing from that, 20 years or 20 minutes would make no difference. And if he does learn, then we gain an ally who understands both the old ways and the new. Someone who can bridge the gap between what was and what can be." A year after the war ended, the first Galactic Commonwealth Summit convened. 53 species attended, more than anyone had expected. They gathered not to divide power or claim territories, but to solve problems together. Elder Quinara gave the opening address. At her age, every word carried the weight of observed history. "I have watched empires rise and fall. I have seen species achieve greatness, and others destroy themselves. This galaxy has known periods of peace and epochs of war, but never have I seen what we are attempting now." She gestured at the assembled representatives. "Species that were enemies 6 months ago now work as partners. Former subjects of the Krillian Empire sit as equals with those who were once masters. And the species that shattered the old order leads not through force, but through example." Her eyes found Daniel Brooks. "Ambassador, your people did something extraordinary. You won a war and then refused to profit from your victory. You demonstrated overwhelming power and then chose overwhelming mercy. You forced change through strength but built peace through wisdom. The question now is whether the rest of us can live up to the standard you have set. Can we choose cooperation over competition? Can we pursue mutual benefit instead of individual advantage? Can we build something that lasts?" Daniel stood to respond. "Elder Quinara, humanity appreciates your words, but we must be clear about something. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We struggle with our own nature constantly. We offer no perfect solutions. Only the commitment to keep trying." He looked around the chamber. "Every species here has something to contribute. Krillians have knowledge of technologies we are only beginning to understand. The Vorath have diplomatic traditions, spanning millennia. The Quinn have artistic achievements that move the soul. Humanity's contribution is not superiority but perspective. We remember what happens when power lacks restraint. So let us build this commonwealth together, not as followers of human leadership, but as partners in a common cause. Each species brings its strengths. Each culture offers unique wisdom. Together, we can create something none of us could achieve alone." The summit continued for weeks. Trade agreements were signed. Mutual defense pacts were established. Scientific cooperation was formalized. Slowly, painfully, a new order took shape. On a reconstructed colony world, a human child and a Krillian child played together in a park. Their parents watched from benches nearby. Former enemies, now neighbors. "Do you think it will last?" the Krillian parent asked. The human parent watched the children chase each other, laughing. "I think we have a chance. Our generation remembers the war. We remember the fear and anger, but our children will grow up in a different galaxy. They will know Krillians and humans as neighbors, not enemies. Unless we teach them to hate, then we teach them something better. We teach them that differences are not threats. That cooperation beats conquest. That the galaxy has room for everyone." The Krillian parents' scales shifted to a hopeful green. "Your people gave us that chance. After everything we did, you still chose to help rather than harm. Because revenge is easy and peace is hard. Because winning a war matters less than winning the peace that follows. Because the galaxy we leave our children matters more than settling scores with our enemies." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children play. Above them, ships from a dozen species moved through the sky. Trading and traveling in peace, the galaxy had been shattered. But from those shattered pieces, Something new was being built. Something better. Something that might actually last. And it started because one species offered peace first, prepared for war when necessary, and then chose to build rather than destroy when victory came. That was the human way. Not perfect. Often difficult. But committed to the principle that tomorrow could be better than today. If everyone worked together to make it so. The galaxy was watching. And slowly, carefully, other species were beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, the humans were right.